Next game, the Seahawks beat the Commanders 29-26. Sam Howell, they get so much passing volume in this. He's going to throw enough times a game to be relevant in fantasy every single week. He may not be the best quarterback, but he is absolutely in the opportunities. 29-44, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 2 carries for 17 yards. You could do way worse than playing Sam Howell every week. Definitely add him. Keep him on your bench just in case something crazy happens to your initial starting quarterback. But, I mean, there are teams out there who have Sam Howell starting every week and are doing just fine. So definitely worse options at fantasy than Sam Howell, quarterback. Brian Robinson went insane. Just the 8 carries for 38 yards, but 6 catches, 119 yards, and a touchdown is just insane. Almost tying his yards for the entire season in this one game. Crazy stuff. I knew that this matchup was going to be good because the Ravens ran all over them last week, so knew Brian Robinson was in for a solid game, but I was not expecting 119 yards receiving. That is just insane. What I learned most from this game is play your running backs against the Seahawks because they haven't been able to stop the run at all these last few weeks. Antonio Gibson, still behind Brian Robinson pretty substantially, had half as many carries, but 4 carries, 13 yards for him. He also had 5 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. The running backs just received so much in this game. It's just crazy. De'Ami Brown, the leading wide receiver in this one, with just 2 catches and 41 yards and a touchdown. Logan Thomas had 5 catches for 40 yards. He's a nice floor play at tight end. I just wouldn't expect anything crazy from him. Terry McLaurin had 4 catches for 33 yards on 8 targets. At least the 8 targets were there, and that kind of lets us know that, hey, he's still that number 1 receiver. He was putting out a lot of consistent production here recently, but this is definitely disappointing. If he has a tough matchup, like the Seahawks have really good corners, so maybe think twice about playing Terry if the matchup isn't super great. John Bates, the backup tight end, 3 catches for 21 yards. Byron Pringle had a catch for 7. Curtis Samuel had 2 catches for 6. I think he's a safe drop, even though he had the 6 targets. Alex Arma had a catch for 3. Jamison Crowder did not haul in his only target. And Jahan Dotson, super up and down. 2 targets, did not haul in either of them. Drop them. Like, there are instances where you can keep him on your team, and if you need like a boom-bust sort of receiver, you can put Jahan Dotson in your lineup and see what happens, but I just wouldn't count on him for any sort of consistent production rest of season. So if you need the roster space, I definitely understand dropping him at this point. For the Seahawks, it's good to see Geno Smith bouncing back. 31-47, 369 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Really solid stuff from Geno. I think he's more of a matchup play, waiver wire sort of quarterback. Put him in if you need somebody facing a good matchup that week. Kenneth Walker, stranglehold on this RB1 role. 19 carries, 63 yards, really solid stuff. Zach Charbonnet, though, putting up a fight. 6 carries for 44 yards is really impressive. I wonder if he's going to get more carries in this next game. But Kenneth Walker has done really well this season, so even though it hasn't been great these last few weeks, I would still expect Walker to be the RB1 going forward for this entire year. Pete Carroll just doesn't really play rookie running backs like that historically. And Geno Smith just had the 1 carry for 13 yards. DK Metcalf, 7 catches, 98 yards on 12 targets. Good to see him bouncing back after the weak performance last week. Tyler Lockett, another great performance. 8 catches, 92 yards and a touchdown on 10 targets. These guys are going to be the priority in this offense. Definitely worse plays every week than these guys, especially if they have a good matchup. Kenneth Walker had the 1 catch for 64 yards and a touchdown. Awesome to see that with the low rushing efficiency. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 4 catches, 53 yards on 5 targets. He's on drop watch. I wouldn't say that he is a definite drop at this point because these last few weeks have been really good for him. But if Metcalf and Lockett are going, and I think that's what the Seahawks would prefer, then Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to take a clear backseat. So I wouldn't play him next week. And, you know, if you have the roster spot, I would suggest holding him just to see what happens from here on out. If he does start to get more of a role in preseason, I thought he would eat into Tyler Lockett's role a little bit. So watch out for that. Maybe that happens at some point down the line, but I wouldn't bank on that. Will Dissly, 2 catches for 22 yards on 2 targets. Zach Charbonnet had 4 catches for 18 yards on 5 targets. I wonder if he will maintain more of a receiving role as we go forward because he just has more of a background in receiving than Ken Walker does. Jake Bobo, just the 2 catches for 13 yards. Noah Fant had 2 for 6. And Colby Parkinson almost didn't play in this one, but he had 1 target, 1 catch, and 3 yards.